Welcome to hashtag Let's Get Louder LMF's podcast. This is the 2024 World Series predictions episode. I can't believe that we've gone through 162 games. We've gone through spring training. We've gone through a whole round of 3 playoff rounds. And now we are here for the World Series. And we, not being my team, the Miami Marlins, but there's a heck of a lot of Marlins in the World Series, and we'll get into that on this episode. But it is the Juggernauts, the New York Yankees, the highest spending American League team versus the number 5 payroll in the league in the Los Angeles Dodgers. And we know those numbers are fake because the Dodgers definitely have a lot of deferred money that's going to go to Shohei Ohtani and their pitchers and whatnot. So we know the Dodgers really have the highest payroll in the National League, a little bit competitive with the Mets, but this team is stacked. The Los Angeles Dodgers will host the New York Yankees in games 1 and 2, games 3, 4, and 5, best of 7. Games 3 and 4, if necessary, 5 will be in New York. If necessary, games 6 and 7 will be in Los Angeles. Wow. Before we can predict who's going to win the World Series, let's recap from our last episode. Let's recap who made it and how they made it to the World Series and how the championship series and the National League and American League happened. It kind of went down as we previewed in the hashtag Let's Get Louder Championship Series prediction episode. I did predict the Los Angeles Dodgers would win the National League. I also predicted that the New York Yankees would win against the Cleveland Guardians for the American League Championship. So I am 2 for 2 in predictions in Championship League Series. I didn't take the bet, unfortunately. I should have, of who would have won. I do want to tell you that both series were intriguing. I do want to say that the surprise really came from the New York Yankees series. I thought it would have gone 6 games. I thought Cleveland was good enough to at least get 2. They finished with 1 win. It was a late inning comeback win, a home walk-off home run, kind of like one of those freak walk-off home run wins. Something that doesn't always happen. It's a kid's dream. You practice it as a kid to hit a home run. So we'll start with the American League. The Yankees took games 1 and 2 at home. The uh, Cleveland Guardians took game 3 in Cleveland at home. Again, a late inning comeback. And the New York Yankees took care of business in games 4 and 5. Really, Aaron Judge had a home run. Juan Soto had a home run. A walk-off, not a walk-off, but kind of like in the division series we reviewed in Milwaukee for Pete Alonso. Well, in the 10th inning of Game 5, Juan Soto hit a 3-run home run in the 10th inning in the top of the 10th inning to give the Yankees the lead and the series. Yankees bullpen had issues like we talked about in the prediction episode of the ALCS. Yankees did have some issues there. But overall, they won the series. Giancarlo Stanton, former Marlin, really came through. He was the American League Championship Series most valuable player. Well deserving. He hit, I think, 4 or 5 home runs in that series. Really kept the Yankees offense going. The 6, 7, 8, and 9 hitters in the Yankees did okay in the series. Aaron Judge, as I said, got a home run or 2. His bat has still not woken up. Juan Soto also not struggling. He's getting hits and on base. Gleyber Torres getting on base. Jazz Chisholm Jr. Was abysmal, unfortunately, in that series. But It doesn't matter anymore. It's all about the World Series. It's a team game. I'm wearing my, if you're watching on the YouTube, I'm wearing my Jazz Chisholm Jr. shirt. I love Jazz, and I fully expect him to show up in the World Series under the bright lights of the Los Angeles, where he played an all-star game workouts, and where in New York Yankees he is part of that team that's done really well in the second half in the last couple months since the trade deadline. John Birdie did well, a couple pinch runs, stolen bases, um, and really all the former Marlins are, I'm happy for on the Yankees. That's Jazz, Giancarlo Stanton, and John Birdie making it to a World Series. Can't be prouder of my guys. Really, I have that fan player relationship with Jazz. When he knows your name, you know you're a good fan, and he's a great player. I look forward to him producing at the highest level in the World Series, his first ever World Series. I'm so happy that he is there. Not much else to talk about. The bullpen that I talked up in Cleveland kind of failed them, right? Their all star closer, who didn't allow many runs the whole season, really did not show up in the uh, American League Championship Series. Juan Soto beat up on the bullpen. Giancarlo beat up on that bullpen. And it is what it is. The Yankees were always the better team. It was the 23rd highest payroll versus the second highest payroll. You always thought the Yankees would win, and they are right where they belong. And I don't like the Yankees in general. They're in their 28th, going for their 28th championship. I don't like the Yankees. I don't like the big money teams making it, but I can't hate this team. I'm excited for this team. I'm excited for Jazz Chisholm Jr. I'm excited for Giancarlo Stanton. I'm excited for John Birdie. So with them being in the World Series and prominent players, I'm excited, and I'm openly going to be rooting for the Yankees in this World Series. I hope they win. I think they're the underdog in this World Series, to be honest with you, and I'll get into that. But I hope that the Yankees do win the World Series, and Jazz Chisholm is hoisting the Commissioner's Trophy. Maybe even hoists the MVP if he gets on fire. But I hope that Giancarlo also stays on fire, because if we've seen him hit balls out of Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, and we hope to continue seeing that moving forward. On the other side, you had the Mets of New York, another New York team, versus the Los Angeles Dodgers. A series, I said that the Mets had to take game 1 and 2 or two in the first two, and they did. They took game 2 in Los Angeles, sent it back to New York. I expected the New York Mets to win 2 out of 3 games at home. That didn't happen. The series did not go 7 games, it went 6 games. Uh, Again, I expected the Mets to do better at home, but they didn't. And it's crazy that there was only one lead change in all of the NLCS. One lead change. It was the games that the Dodgers won, they took a lead early, a big lead. They never looked back. In the games that the Mets won, they took a lead, never looked back. In game 6, the Mets took a lead. The Dodgers came back, and that was the only lead change because the Mets didn't come back again. And their pitching let them down. I think they made some managerial decisions on starting pitching that wasn't the correct moves there. I would have started Sean Manaea, who had a great game 2, not so much in game 6, but great game 2. I would have started Manaea game 1, Kodazenga game 2, and go on from there. Instead, they started Senga in game 1, Manaea game 2, Soriano game 3. And then it switched back over, right? So I didn't like the way they did that pitching. Mets need to add on to their bullpen, but they're going to be a competitive team. We'll see what happens with the Pete Alonso contract. So again, Dodgers won games 1, 3, 4, and 6. Mets win games 2 and 5. Dodgers just whooped their butts all over both ballparks in the games that they won. The players showed up and showed out. That the no-name players showed up and showed out. It's really interesting. Shohei Ohtani didn't do too well when he didn't have players on base. I think he got one home run when there were no players on base, or one run batted. Yeah, that would have been a home run. He did do well with players in scoring position and on base. And really, Miguel Rojas was not part of that series. He was injured. I'm wondering. I haven't seen the World Series rosters to see if he will be part of that. Um, but they just didn't do well. The New York Mets versus the Dodgers, and you know what? They were always going to lose that series. They were always the underdog. I said that between 1 and 9, the Dodgers are just stacked. You had Edman as the NLCS MVP. With Edman as the NLCS MVP, that just shows you that the Stars didn't show up, but they showed out, right? But Edman just had a 6 series, and that was a name we never even discussed. But again, Dodgers are stacked between lineup 1 through 9. And the Yankees now are going to have to beat that lineup, but they're also stacked. I want to say 1 through 5, when producing, are stacked. But we need they need, I should say, not we, they need, the Yankees need Aaron Judge to start producing more, Juan Soto to produce more. Jazz Chisholm Jr. needs to get his bat. He cannot be an automatic out like he has been or had been in the ALCS. He needs to start getting on base, stop swinging for the fences, and swinging at everything. Get more patient. He started to learn that in October and September, late September. He needs to get back to that form where he's being patient at the plate, wait for his pitches, because unfortunately he's just swinging at everything. And I love Jazz. Again, I fully expect Jazz to turn it around and do well in his games. He has done well historically in Dodger Stadium. So former Marlins, again, on the Yankees, you have Jazz Chisholm Jr., Giancarlo Stanton, whose jersey is right behind me if you're watching on the YouTube, and of course, John Birdie. If these guys can produce and help the team, they will have a ring. The Yankees have the better pitching in the World Series. The Dodgers have a better bullpen, but Yankees have the better starters. And you can't you're going to be having a bullpen game for the Dodgers when the Yankees have a starting pitcher in there. So it's going to be interesting to see how that bullpen game does against the New York Yankees. They're not a slouch, right? They may be underdogs. Looking at betting lines, let's check the betting lines on the Hard Rock. Down here in Florida, we only have the Hard Rock Bet app. Is really all we can bet on. So let's see the MLB lines for the World Series. Yeah, the Dodgers are favored in the series. They expect it to go over 5 games. That's where the money's on, is under 5 games. So they expect to go over 5 games. The Dodgers are favored. The line is -120 on the Dodgers, plus 100 on the Yankees right now. So yeah, the Yankees are not favored to win, and that's justified, right? 1 through 9 on the Dodgers are a good lineup. You got Freddie Freeman, who looks like he's healed from his injury. You have Shohei Ohtani, who started to light up leading off and stealing bases. And they do this whole hand waving thing. It's kind of interesting to watch. And really, the Dodgers are favored. And we'll get into that right after this quick message from our one and only sponsor. Yankees are in the World Series. Dodgers are in the World Series. Go right now to intheclutch.com. Intheclutch.com is to gear up with the Major League Players Association, Major League Baseball Players Association approved apparel all season long and into the postseason. If you're a Yankee fan, if you're a Dodger fan, they have shirts for you. And they're not the shirts of the team with their logo or anything, because these are not team affiliated shirts. These are players or more or less affiliated shirts. So they have cool shirts. Go there, look right now, and then at checkout, use code LMF, as in Loud Miami Fan, as in LMF's podcast. Use code LMF at checkout to save a at least a 10% discount on your entire purchase. Look, they've been with me for 2 years now. Is in the clutch.com, and I appreciate them very much. If you take the opportunity right now, go to intheclutch.com and go look at their t-shirts. Even if you're not rooting for a team that's currently in the World Series, all Major League Baseball Players Association t-shirts are there. Whether you're rooting for a team in Philadelphia next year or a team in Seattle, every team, maybe even Oakland, who doesn't even have a team anymore, but the A's uh, in the city of Sacramento, California, will have t-shirts available. So go to intheclutch.com right now and use code LMF at checkout. Thanks to all the guys out there at intheclutch.com. So now that that's been talked about, getting back to where we are in World Series predictions, let's go. I've already stated kind of where I think who has the better lineup and whatnot, but let's really dig into this, okay? Um, let's dig into it. Um, and you know, the Yankees again have better starting pitching. I will give them the starting pitching check mark. The Yankees have a great lineup, not as deep as the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'll have to see who's on that lineup. Again, the announcement for World Series rosters has not been announced. I like to see who is there, who will be playing. I like to see if Miguel Rojas will be there. He is great at defense, and he had a great year producing behind the plate in the regular season. Miguel Rojas and Jazz Chisholm Jr. on the Yankees have a beef. There's no secret. They have a beef. Jazz called him out on a podcast uh, prior to the season that aired the first week of the 2024 season. Jazz does not like Miguel Cabrera. Miguel Cabrera was a team captain of the Miami Marlins in Jazz's 2020 year and 2021 year, uh, even 2022. And they did not get along. Jazz, as I've said before, is a personality. He has an ego. He's a grown up, but he's like me. He's a child at heart, right? He's different. He thinks different. Um, and if he wants to celebrate a little bit more or be a little bit boisterous or personality, Miguel Rojas didn't like that in the Miami Marlins clubhouse. Don Mattingly took Miguel Rojas's back and called out Jazz in a team meeting. And at the end of the day, one player was well, they both been traded, but one player was removed from the team when they started a new era of baseball here in Miami. One player was removed from the team, and the other was a team was built around him with his best friends and whatnot. But fast forward, none of that matters except the hatred between the two. And we would like to have Jazz get on second base and whatnot, or Rojas get the third, and then them just brawling it out in words and whatnot. But I'm happy for Jazz. Not, I want to say this about Miguel Rojas. I don't have a relationship with him. I did at one point. Miguel Rojas really upset me on a personal level. He said some words to me from the dugout um, when I was calling a former Marlins catcher who was playing really bad and shouldn't be on this team, Sandy Leon. I had words with him, and Miguel Rojas had his back and basically told me to F off. It's okay. But ever since that day, I lost all the respect for him. Um, wasn't his place to do so. I also don't like how he attacked Marlins fans on X or Twitter at the time. Um, but I don't hold grudges. I'm just not going to be openly cheering for Miguel Rojas, and I hope I don't. I'm just mute towards him right now. I hope Jazz gets his ring, but I will always have Jazz's back in any argument against Miguel Rojas. Um, so, with that being said, there's other Marlins, former Marlins. Kiki Hernandez is on the Dodgers. Wasn't here for that long, but Kiki Hernandez was a former Marlin. He's produced well for that team as depth and pinch hitting. He's come up with some big shots in this postseason. Uh, there's a few others, um, but my heart is with the New York Yankees in this one with Jazz, Giancarlo, and John Birdie. Let's just openly say that I'm openly rooting for the Yankees to win their 28th World Series, and I hope it happens. And okay, so the lineup I'm giving to the Dodgers, by the way, when you have Teoscar Hernandez on a 1 year deal when trying to prove something, when you have Shohei Utani who signed the richest MLB contract ever, $700 million, when you have uh, Freddie Freeman who is just there playing first base, former World Series champion from 2021. A defense like Miguel Rojas, if he's in the lineup, um, they're just stacked 1 through 9. I'm trying to not look at who else is on the team. But yeah, I haven't even mentioned former World Series MVP Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts. So Mookie, and there's some pretty cool shirts of Mookie on intheclutch.com, by the way, like really cool shirts. But Mookie Betts, when you have these guys, 1, 2, 3, 4 leading in the leadoff spots, and Teoscar Hernandez and uh, Will Smith at catcher, they have a sick lineup, and the Yankees pitching has to be spot on. And that's it. Like you can go down 5 runs if you're the Dodgers and expect to come back like they did versus the Padres really quick. It's just they're just too good. But on the other side, if the Yankees lineup can produce, if uh, whoever's leading off, if Verdugo and others produce, if Jazz produces, their lineup's not to be messed with. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two juggernaut lineups go against each other. And I think the Yankees win on starting pitching. When you have Carlos Rendon, when you have Clay Holmes, and your top 2 guys, that's not easy to beat. Um, the Dodgers have a great starter or two. Jake Flattery. Um, you have Bueller. I mean, they're okay starters, but that Yankee lineup needs to beat on these guys because when you get into games 3 and 4, the Yankees have the better starters when you're going against bullpen games by the Dodgers. So the Yankees should be able to win game at least 2 of 3 at home. They just like the Mets have to take games 1 or 2 or both in Los Angeles to start the series. And I may be wrong. I'm almost 99% sure that the series is starting in LA. I'm going to look up the TV schedule to kind of give you that. Uh, I know it's going to be on Fox. It starts Saturday, which again, another 5 days off, which is crazy to me. Yeah, it is Los Angeles. I'm not crazy there. It's actually the series starts Friday. So they will have had the Yankees clinched on Saturday night. They will have had 6 days off. The Dodgers clinched Friday, so they'll have 5 days off. Everybody's going to be rested. Game 1 is Friday, October 25th. Game 2, Saturday. The series switches to New York after a travel day. Then they'll get Game 4 is Tuesday. Game 5, again, if necessary for the Yankees, will be Wednesday. And then it switches back Friday and Saturday. So by Saturday, November 2nd, we'll know who's champion. I'm picking the Yankees. I want the Yankees. I think they can do it. I think that this game will go at least 6. The Yankees have to take one in Los Angeles out of the first 2. I think they could take both. Unlike the Mets, where it was they have to win one, I think the Yankees could take both. I think the Yankees will win 2 home games. The season series, I believe the Dodgers beat the Yankees. There was a 3-game series in New York this year. I'm going to look that up. They played each other earlier this season. The Dodgers took at least 2 of 3 from them. But again, regular season doesn't really matter to me. They are different teams now. They both have playoff experience now, and both teams are paid to win, right? It's going to be interesting to see if Juan Soto can build on his Yankees legacy. We'll talk about that after the series. But again, Yankees, I think, will take game 1 or 2, if not both. They may go back to New York split. The Yankees should be able to take 2 at home in Yankee Stadium. Shohei Ohtani has played many times in Yankee Stadium as a Los Angeles Angel of Anaheim. He's also played there earlier this year as a Dodger. If he produces the same way he has been, where he's not leading off, getting on base, I know he had a home run, a leadoff home run, but other than that, he really didn't do anything with no one on base. If he's not getting on, the Yankees could take this series. You got to keep him at bay. Not saying that anyone after him is a slouch. Again, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Teoscar Hernandez, Will Smith, just to name a few, right behind them. This team's stacked. Kiki Hernandez, stacked. Tommy Edman, who won the NLCS MVP, stacked. There's no breath that the Yankees pitching can take, but they are the better starting unit. If it gets down to the late innings and they're tied, Dodgers will win the series. Yankees have to take big leads. If it goes down to a bullpen late inning game, the Dodgers have the better bullpen. 100%. The Yankees have an okay bullpen, but you can't trust the late inning pitchers. So we'll see what happens, right? This is the hashtag Let's Get Louder LMF's podcast here on YouTube. You're watching. If you're not watching and you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thank you. Please like and rate this podcast. If you're just listening to the podcast, please go to YouTube, search hashtag Let's Get Louder. Find the podcast. You'll see my gorgeous face that's made for radio. And subscribe there too. Like it, comment. I want to interact with you. If you're just listening for the first time, welcome to the show. I'm Loud Miami Fan, at Loud Miami Fan, on mainly every social media platform, at Loud Miami Fan. The Miami Hurricanes, to get off baseball for a second, Miami Hurricanes are 7-0. They play FSU this week. Maybe we'll discuss that on next episode. Baseball's almost over. Jazz Chisholm Jr. is in the World Series. Let's get louder for Jazz. Y'all love Jazz. Hashtag getting jazzy with it. Let's have a great World Series and go Yankees. This has been an edition of the hashtag Let's Get Louder LMF's podcast, and I am your host, Chase Blake.